Hello and welcome back. Today I'm joined by a longtime comrade in comedy, Vince Caldera.
Hey, everybody.
Is it Vince or Vincent?
Vincent's my birth name, but I go by Vince. Yeah. If you want to call me Vincent, you can. You have my permission.
What about Vinny?
I don't like that one. That one is one that I will protest. I'll be like, don't insult my name.
There's something about like our generation, like they're, Latinos that don't like Italian versions of their name.
It's like, it's either Vincent or Vince. Like, that's all I'll take. But yeah, Vinny is like, it feels almost too friendly, or like it seems like I'm not going to respect anything that you tell me. What you're going to tell me after Vinny is not helpful.
What about if I was your cousin?
No, then you know even more to not say it like that, you know? Unless you want to I guess be a little irksome, then it's like, yeah, Vinny. Yeah.
He got it.
Yeah. Well, my cousin, because it's a movie title.
Yeah.
That's right. Is that a good movie?
I like it. I watched it 6 times last year.
I want to know how you spread out those 6 viewings. It was 6 days in a row. 6 times in 1 week.
I really like the movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like one of my favorite Joe Pesci roles. Obviously, in it, he's using his stereotypical voice that people identify with him because of Goodfellas. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, he is not playing a gangster. He's not playing, Yeah. It's one of the few instances where, he is just a person.
Okay.
And I think it works really well.
I'll check that out. I'll put it on my list. I'll call it My Cousin Vince, though, when I watch it. That way I can tolerate the title. Yeah.
My Cousin Vincent. Well, so how have you been?
I've been okay. I think I had kind of mentioned to you that I'm in the process of a job search and stuff. And it's been nice because it's reminded me of the things that I care about, what I want to pursue, what will make me feel fulfilled and things like that. Creatively, I've been trying to work on a lot of different projects and just kind of making things on my own because I don't know, that's exciting and it allows me to work with other people that I admire,
right,
and that I like and that can maybe agree with what I envision, and that feels cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you've kind of had your hand in a lot of different things over the years, right? We met because you used to run your own mic, right?
I used to run my own mic, yeah. It was very DIY. I used to run a mic with 2 other buddies, Daniel and Luis, and it was the most popular version of it was Mia's Hot Dogs in Eagle Rock. So we had an outdoor open mic.
Right.
What people said was a hot dog stand, but it's not. It was an establishment. It was not just a little cart and umbrella thing. It was a sit down place.
Right.
Yeah, but people love saying hot dog stand.
They did have umbrellas.
They did, but you could sit down underneath those umbrellas.
It was honestly, it gave off beachside vibes, the kind of place you go, you know.
It was fun. I always like when restaurants try to elevate something that probably doesn't need to be elevated, like hot dogs, right, or a burger and stuff like that. Because it's I eat those things shamefully all the time. If anything, they should have a car that you can just sit inside of and then just eat that very quickly. Because that's how I eat hot dogs or burgers, and then I just continue on with my day.
That'd be funny. Just half a car sitting there instead of tables.
Yeah, just half of a car. And then also there's a countdown clock because it's usually I'm on my break or there's something more important that I need to do. But I decided to go get food. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, you don't have to do a lot with hot dogs. They're kind of just really skinny bologna.
Skinny bologna, yeah.
If you know how hot dogs are made.
Skinny bologna. I like that. Yeah, just a super thin. Yeah. But yeah, as we were saying, I co-hosted that with friends for about maybe, I want to say 3 or 4 years. And I liked it because I met a lot of new people.
Right. You met Maria Bamford that way.
Yeah. So I actually did. Yeah. Through hosting that mic, it was a different iteration of it down the street when it was at Swark Coffee. I had used my financial aid money to buy I think it was called a Ion block rocker. It was this karaoke machine that you could sync up a Bluetooth with or hook up a microphone to, and it had these wheels that you could roll it. It was portable, right, but if you can carry anything, it's portable. But yeah, we had that, and for 3 or 4 months. We'd be in the back patio. Nobody would show up. It would be us performing for each other for like maybe 10 minutes. And we were there for 2 hours waiting for someone else to sign up. One time Maria Bamford came and she liked it and she kept coming and she told other people about it. And I feel like that's what really helped it grow.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've only met her a couple of times, but she's really nice.
She's an angel.
Yeah. She's one of my favorite. Well, so I saw her before the hiatus. Mm-hmm. Like, I would see her like on Comedy Central and I knew about her album. So I was already a fan of her. Mm-hmm. And then when she did the comeback, she started doing the show and she started doing new albums. That made me even more of a fan because I found out that we have the same kind of OCD.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool.
It is nice when like...
I mean, OCD is not fun, but it's cool that someone else has it.
Yes. Yeah. It's the relatability, right? Where you're like, oh, that person understands something that I'm experiencing. But I really, again, like I love her because, she's a champion for DIY. It's one of those things where like sometimes you want to make something and you're like, oh, I need to convince other people to agree with me in order to get it made. But a lot of it is just like, do you agree with it or do you believe enough in it for you to just make it yourself?
Yeah, honestly, it reminds me of this other person, Ember Knight. I don't know if you've met them.
I know of them. I've never met them.
Well, they did a film, and I won't say too much about it because it's there's a whole thing about their film.
It's top secret.
Yeah, you gotta have to go to their viewings to see it and buy it. I don't even know if they still.
Well, it makes for like a very unique experience too to watch it or to consume it. Yeah.
But if they don't mind me sharing this, and if they do, we'll cut it out. They have this concept in their film where they're trying to get people to believe that if they put their shoes in a bucket, it'll turn into spaghetti.
Okay, I like that.
And I feel like that's like sort of the, it's obviously a lot more surreal, but it's like the same sentiment of like, as long as we just agree that this thing can happen, it can happen.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Yeah, and I get a lot of that from like Maria's work as well.
Yeah, and she's such a special talent too, where it's like one of those things where I'm like, I see her and I'm always like, oh man, like it makes me want to write more, it makes me want to go out more, and also like she practices sometimes in front of like one person.
Yeah,
she'll do like an hour in front of one person.
Oh
one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean that was like the whole concept of one of her specials, right? It was like
in front of her parents.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it makes you like think like how far can I take something, and then if I have this idea, I want to make it a reality. How can I do that?
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of like what we're doing with the show.
Yeah. This is a show just for you.
It's just for
you.
But you've worked on other stuff since you've done a couple of recordings by now, right?
I've done 2 recordings. The first recording I did at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, and I was really excited for that. I got some support from some folks, but it's kind of been shelved for a long time for reasons beyond my control, and it kind of put me in a place where I felt very like, I don't know, disenchanted, I think, by comedy, unfortunately. And it made me think like, all right, so this thing, there's more people involved in it, so I feel like I have less control. What can I do to feel like I have some kind of power? So I recently had a recording that I used some buddies for, and they helped me shoot it, and I tapped into my my contacts. I work at UCB Theater, so my friends that work there, I asked them, hey, would you be willing to like put in a word for me to have a show here? And thankfully they did, and then I got a date, and then I had to promote it, and then people came out, and I felt so lucky that people came, and I recorded something that felt very good, and I feel very excited to share that.
Hell yeah. Josh was there.
Yeah, you were there. You were in the front row.
I was.
He won't say this, but he threw a bouquet of flowers on the stage, and I just felt so appreciated,
Hell yeah, that's so sweet. That's Josh. Josh the sweetheart.
Josh, and that's what he signed the card with also, Josh the sweetheart.
That's going to be your new name.
Yeah.
There was a time where I laughed and you were like, thanks, and it was my laugh.
Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah. I think it's fun to acknowledge the laugh. I think that's fun. But yeah, man, I feel like I've just been like in a place where it's been a mixture of like frustration, but also I feel like that frustration has kind of pushed me to try to be an advocate for myself and make things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's definitely something I can relate to. Like, a while back, I did a podcast with someone else, and I didn't have a lot. That was kind of my perspective during the whole thing. Was like, I didn't well, I felt involved. I didn't feel as considered, and that grew more and more until, you know, and even, you know, with this most recent podcast, Un Poquito, with Dominic, as I've said before, me and Dominic always had the, you know, the same drive to do the podcast, and it's something we built together, but it was definitely something that was more in his realm of experience than mine. And so that's why I started, you know, once we did the switch, you know, and he started working on other projects, I took this opportunity to make this show and finally like start working on stuff for myself.
I say, what I'm wondering is like because you mentioned like for a while you didn't feel considered. How long was it before you felt like I need to say something, or what was like the moment where you're like, I need to...
Well, you know, not to get into like a stale beef.
no, and it's not for that intention, but like, I guess for anybody who's watching and wants to know, like, cause sometimes even like in a workplace, you can be like, oh, I feel like my ideas aren't being considered.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
I mean, it you know, it came to a head for other reasons,
sure, but
it came to a point where I did start pushing for my stuff. And when I did that, you know, there's no way to say whether or not my stuff would have panned out because it didn't get a lot of time before things ended.
Okay.
But a lot of good came out of it. I got a lot of experience with like design work. Like all the merch I have now, I drew myself, and that started with that show because I was in charge of merch. And
oh, cool.
And there's a lot of ideas that I had for that show that even though it took a long time to get them out, when they did come out, they were received well enough that I knew like what I gained from it was knowing that I could trust myself with stuff like this.
I feel like that is so important, like to be able to trust yourself with something. Cause like, at least speaking for myself, there's a lot of moments where I feel self-doubt or I'm like, I like this idea, but do I like it enough where I'm going to like, use action to make it a reality?
Right.
And I feel like that first step is always so hard. Cause like, even like, I mean, like you know this, like with stand up, like you'll have a joke and sometimes you'll try the joke and it doesn't work, but you're like, I believe in this. I really want it to work. And then finally, when you put in enough time, you're like, okay, now people see what I always believed. This is funny or this is a good idea.
Yeah. That's like, it makes writing, you know, not hard, but difficult. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's not hard for me to write new material, but it's hard for me to trust the material sometimes because I won't know how it sounds until I am on stage, which is, you know, that's how anyone with comedy is. But like, there's specific jokes where like nobody likes them when I'm explaining them, and then they hear them on stage and like, okay, well, you didn't do it like that.
I know sometimes people don't like explaining jokes on stage, but that's something that sometimes I really enjoy doing because it's just fun. Just for me to be like, can someone at least understand the math of where my brain was at?
Yeah.
You know, well, like, I'll do the joke, and if it dies and no one laughs, I'm like, okay. But if I'm just frustrated enough, I'll be like, because this and this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then some people will be like, yeah, they'll verbally say it. But it's just fun for me because like it just makes me feel less crazy in the sense of like, I can't be the only one that thinks that this is funny, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've had some like, there are some jokes that definitely for me.
Yeah. But I think you have to write for yourself too, because that's what makes it fun.
I mean, that's always been like how I, you know, think about comedy and joke writing in general is like, it's kind of like a sales pitch, you know. The way I think about jokes and the way I explain people, like when they're getting into joke writing, is like the three things that are most important are: what do you think is funny? Why do you think that's funny? How do you explain that to everyone else so they think that's funny?
Yeah. I think also like another way of that too is like having a strong opinion on something and then, you know, just kind of like defending it, or also having like a strong emotional connection to it.
Yeah. Which can sometimes backfire. I definitely have. Like, well, like I have a lot of jokes about my autism, but some of them, there's certain jokes I just can't write because I always sound angry. Like there's a joke I tried to write about non-autistic comedians writing autistic humor. Yeah.
Well, but you have an opinion on it, so you can be angry. You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing is like I think the concept is funny, but I haven't been able to do the joke without sounding mad.
Gotcha.
And the joke is essentially like, we'll bleep it. But the thing that's frustrating to me about like liberal people doing autistic jokes is they just want to say retarded, but it's faux pas to say.
You know, I do agree with you. I feel like they just want the chance to say those words, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, well, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to say it, then say it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, but if you're gonna.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like what I also really value in stand-up or in comedy is just having like a really strong perspective and then seeing that on stage, because it does also it teaches me stuff too, like about a background or a person or like even a specific thing. Like I don't know a whole lot about autism, but like when I would see like your stand-up, I am at least given a perspective that, you know, I don't want to say that I haven't considered, but that would be new to me, where I'm like, oh, I've never seen the world through that lens. And I feel like that's cool because it makes me think more about like, okay, I want to hear more about their set or more about where they come from.
Yeah, and I think that's something that personally I strive for when I write those specific jokes.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really easy to have, you know, any topic or purview has a version of low-hanging fruit. And I think that there are a lot of other autistic comics that kind of lean towards that because it's what sells. You know what I mean? It's like what non-autistic people want to hear is, you know, maybe not on the surface that's what they think, but it's what they laugh at. Like I had this old joke about autistic people are like cats because they're not very social, and if you put two in the same room, one of them bites the other one. And it's like, that is, you know, conceptually funny.
It feels like sometimes like these POVs can get like memeified, like in the sense of like people like, oh, I think I know autism because I've seen this meme page about it, and it could be the low-hanging fruit. Like, I guess my counterexample is like, I have parents that have been in a gang, and so like the memeified version of being in a gang would probably be like a Foo's Gone Wild page, right? Or it's like, okay, sure, that is part of that, but my intent isn't to like demonstrate them as like as fools or whatever. It's like to give them dimension and depth.
And that's why I think, you know, that's one joke in particular that I've stopped telling on stage for that very reason of like,
what if someone requests it? Would you honor the request, or would you be like, okay, you'd be like, sorry, buddy?
And that's also another thing about, especially when I do things and my disability as a topic is a factor. I'm very consistent with people of like, even if it's a detriment to my progress, I'm not gonna settle for like what they think is fun. Like, I tell people, because there's people that will criticize my new jokes over my old jokes, and I'll be like, if you don't like it, you can go away. Like nobody has to like my stuff. I want people to like my stuff a lot. You know, share, like, and subscribe, but you don't have to if you don't want to, but please do, but you don't have to.
No, I get that. I feel like the valuable part is growth, and I feel like that's an example of growth, right? I think to constantly be thinking about the new ways to challenge yourself. I don't know, it's fun. Stand-up is fun in that way, where you're like, sometimes, I don't know if you ever feel this. Again, this is a me problem that I have a lot. But sometimes, like, I'll be like, how do I write a joke? How do I be funny? You know, because like I know that I've done it before, and I know that I can do it again. But sometimes I just feel like I hit a wall where I'm like, how do I do this? You know, sometimes I'll write like a stupid short little joke, and I'm like, well, is this actually me, or does this just feel like this is me trying to like restart or do something? No,
I get that. There's definitely jokes that I've written that have like either not panned out, or they're like they could work, but they're not my kind of joke.
Sometimes I'll do like a joke where I'm like, I don't like this, like I'll feel bad afterwards, but it's one of those things where like I'll do the joke, but I know that the audience will enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it. Am I allowed to like curse or say a bad word? I have a joke about eating ass that I really don't like, but I swear to God, I do it on the road, and like people will go crazy, and I don't like it because it's just the dumbest joke I think I've written, but people really seem to enjoy it, and I just can't figure it out.
I mean, I don't have jokes that I don't like doing, but there's definitely jokes that are people's favorite that aren't mine. Like I do an adorable schizophrenia joke, which has merch. And it's, you know, I get why people think it's funny, and I like telling the joke, but it's not my favorite joke. And there's definitely moments like that where people, laugh harder than I do at some of my jokes. And I think sometimes that does get in my head a little bit of like, what am I like, back to what I was saying before, like, who am I writing for, me or them?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I just need to get over it and figure it out. But yeah.
That reminded me of a similar joke that actually, it's the opposite. I think the concept is funny, but it's been hard to sell. It's a joke. I don't know if you were there when I was working on it, but it was during Mexican Candy, the voice calls.
Was that around like?
That was COVID.
I don't want to do. Okay, cool. All right. Maybe I do remember. If you gave me like the premise, maybe I might remember.
So the premise, not to be explicit, but it was comparing the act of heckling to like making requests during a blowjob. And the part that was hard to, and it was a joke that was hard to work on because it's a very the joke is from the perspective of the person giving the blowjob.
Okay.
So it was hard to write that in a voice call of like a bunch of straight Latino men. They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Literally their first note was like, "What if you changed it to pussy?" And I'm like, nobody hates eating pussy.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Nobody who does it hates it.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you disagree, please comment and elaborate why.
Yeah.
At least 3 sentences, please.
And then everyone else will bombard you with why you're wrong.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And so it was just a funny comparison because that was a joke where like it is explicit and it's like it doesn't make me uncomfortable, but I understand why like people don't always get it.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any? I guess with your stand up, do you have like are you hoping to like record something to like share soon, or do you want to like?
It's complicated. There was a couple of years recently where I was not getting as much time as I was before. Like, okay, so what happened was I had a bunch of stuff going on before COVID, and then COVID happens, and I ended up moving a lot. I ended up moving to an area where there's not a lot of clubs, and the clubs that exist kind of suck.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use any names, but they all have like...
Please do. No, I'm kidding.
There's this concept where I'm living right now that I've noticed that is still prevalent where like there is comedy outlets, there's mics and stuff, but when you look at the Yelp reviews of those establishments, all of the 1 stars started when they did open mics.
Oh, and wow.
So they don't last long out there.
I feel like with that in mind, for... Let me rephrase this. I think in instances where there aren't like a lot of comedy clubs, I mean, you know this, like there's a great opportunity for like DIY spaces to come up and for you to like create your own. I feel like that's really valuable because like you can find a lot of like-minded people that can go there. Because sometimes there are comedy clubs or cultures in comedy clubs where it's like very cliquey, and sometimes making another space for people that maybe aren't like that. That can help them thrive and grow. Yeah. So I like going to... I started like in the alternative scene of comedy, and I really like that because there was comedy in places where there probably shouldn't be. You know, like a hot dog stand in Eagle Rock. And it was really cool because you do see people that are just excited to share. And I feel like that's the most valuable thing is being at a place where you feel comfortable, that you feel excited to share, and it's not intimidating. And also in a place where you feel like you can grow. Because sometimes people might be on their phone all the time, or they might be doing something else. And you can drive out some people drive out an hour or 2 hours. And to get to a place where you've already invested like at least a 2-hour drive, and you get there and no one's listening to you, you have to drive back. That's like another 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to be somewhere where you're like, okay, I did 5 minutes and I didn't do great, but I know what I can change. I know what I need to work on. And of that 5 minutes, 1 minute was really good. To have a place like that, I think is valuable.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is like, a part of it was that I moved to an area that doesn't have a huge like community out there for comedy. Part of it was... 2020 set me back. I would say I've been doing it, I think 9 years now, but when you take out the years that I wasn't doing it, I only have like 6 years on my belt.
Yeah. So that was an interesting time for comedy. I feel like sometimes it's one of those things where the world is like think about your life or work on your life, and then comedy will be there type of stuff. You know?
And I think that's just where I'm at now. Like, if I wanted to, I have enough material to fill a half hour.
Okay.
But is it a good half hour is where I'm at. And I don't think that it is. Like, if I will it down to the most consistent jokes, I have maybe 15 to 25, or like 3 different versions of 25. But I don't think that I have enough right now. And it's a personal thing. It's a personal goal. I don't think I have enough right now to make the kind of recording that I want.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like with what you said about like those 30 minutes and stuff, sometimes it's like this thing where maybe it's like a self-censoring or like the self-blocker where I'm like, no, I need it to be perfect. But then sometimes it's like, no, I feel really good about these. These are fun, and I would like to. They feel ready to share. Right. I think what's also cool is like you can always revisit jokes too in the future once you think of like more tags or whatever. Yeah. I feel like that's what's always fun is like I feel like the joke will never be at its complete form.
Yeah, like I definitely think that a lot of people encourage writing the joke down, but it's also like, to keep it from going stale, I think it's important to never just read off the script. Yeah. You know, know what, and that's why I think, you know, those 3 points I mentioned earlier are important when you're telling the joke. Is like, even if you can't remember exactly how you write it down, the most important things to remember are what is funny about this joke and why do you think it's funny. And then from there, on stage, you figure out how to explain it. Because there's definitely some jokes that I've told recently, like in recent shows, that I've told in a new way because I haven't told them in like 2-3 years.
Gotcha. Yeah. And like, I guess like bringing it out after a while is fun because you're like, well, now I have like a new perspective on it.
Yeah.
Are there any places that you really like going to right now, like for stand-up?
Right now, Chatterbox. I try to go to, I don't know if you know Darby Cash's spot.
Well, I don't know his spot, but I know Darby. Yeah.
He does one in Pomona. I try to go out there when I can. I'm still limited because I'm disabled and it keeps me from driving. So right now, those are my main spots. And then a lot of it is just like trying to get on shows.
Yeah, those are 2 good spots for stage time. Especially, because I haven't been to Darby's. I'm sure Darby's is amazing. I haven't been there, but Chatterbox I think is great too. Because like, I think it does a good job of fostering community, and also like it's a good place to grow. Yeah. There's like tangible goals too that you can hit while at Chatterbox. Like you could host, or you can be on the Sunday show, that sort of thing. Yeah,
and they started opening it up. They have like a rotating Friday show and even a new open mic. So
I think that's great.
What
I was gonna ask, the Darby mic, is it Pomona or is it Rancho? Are you talking about Feed That Funny?
Yes, you know, I can never remember.
It's in Rancho Cucamonga.
Can we call it the Darby mic? Because that seems a lot more fun. The Darby mic.
Well, I think he runs it with some guys.
Yeah.
Different hosts.
Plantinga and
I feel like when the address was first sent to me, it said Pomona, but that might have just been because of the zip code. It's complicated.
Just like comedy.
Right.
Just like comedy.
Yeah. Well, you were asking something?
I don't remember. Oh,
you're great.
Is there any other like creative pursuits beyond comedy that you're interested in? I know a while back you were talking about maybe doing like short cartoons.
No, I like the idea of animation. I think that's very fun. That's something I haven't revisited in a while. But yeah, I mean, other artistic pursuits. I like the things I enjoy a lot are documentary and horror. I think those 2 things are really fun. Lately, I've been watching a lot of those 2 things, and then I also like, in addition to like stand up, I like to thrift a lot, and I've been trying to work on like a store, like an online store, and I like going thrifting. I go to like the bins a lot, so like the bins are this thing where you can buy things by the pound.
Right.
You sort through like a bin of things like at a Goodwill, and you can find all kinds of treasures and trash. But I like it because it feels like, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it feels like a kind of like archaeology where you're like, oh, I found this item. What's the history of this item? I found this toy. When did they start making these things? I like that because it's really like taught me a lot about specific things and where they come from, how they're made. And I feel like there's maybe something there where I would like to talk about a specific item and explore it kind of like a look what I found type of thing. And I also like finding books because there's a lot of books that will just like appear and disappear. Like there's like a lot of limited print runs of things and very specific subjects. But what I like is sometimes in these book piles, I'll find these old letters between people. And I guess I like being nosy. I'll open these letters and I'll read them. But what I think is so interesting is a lot of these letters are written in cursive. And today a lot of people can't read cursive. So it feels like a unique skill where I can read these letters and kind of like get a glimpse into these people's lives. And I feel like that's also like a thing that I want to do is just like find more letters and just transcribe them. I think that would be fun because right now there's a lot of organizations that are looking for people that can read cursive to help translate old documents. For archives and stuff like that. And I feel like in a way this is like an archive. I don't know. I feel like I want to do something with documentary.
That's very cool. Have you seen? It reminds me of this. Have you seen the Instagram of that guy who finds old pictures of people and then like tries to track them down?
Oh no, I haven't.
He, like,
that's really
old
crazy.
family photos, and then he'll like post them and be like, "Hey, anybody know who these people are?" And people will be like, "That's my second. That's like aunt. That's like my great aunt or something like that."
Wow.
And like they find all these cool stories and they send the photos back, like because people lose their photo albums and like they end up at thrift stores and they end up in places. You know what I mean?
I think that's what's so cool is like you can find these things anywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
So the idea of like reading someone's letter, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and you'll see like this. One time I found a letter from like the 50s or whatever, maybe the 40s, and it was. I went to. I live in Northeast LA, so I went to the bins there, and then I found a letter from a woman in Eagle Rock from the 40s, 50s that was writing to her son that was like at some kind of war, and yeah, it was crazy seeing her talk about the house and like kind of like distract her son from whatever he was experiencing.
Right. Remind him of home.
Yeah, remind him of home, and it was sweet. She was just gossiping about her neighbor. They're just talking trash about him. Right. And I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I always think it's funny about like what people did before they like were consistently distracted by phones and stuff.
Yeah,
like, I always say they didn't have much to look at, so they were just making stuff, writing things. You know what I mean? It's
like also like you know how like people today like if they're angry they'll send like a text. So it's like one text, then another text, then another text.
Right.
What like I like imagine like in Harry Potter when all those like pieces of mail are coming in through the slot. You know, like is that what would have been? Here's so part 2 of this angry letter. You know?
Yeah. I'm gonna write you an angry letter. That used to be a thing.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I wonder how many people like start writing an angry letter and then just like vent through their writing and then just like halfway through are just like not even mad anymore.
Yeah. They're like, I'm gonna walk away from this. Yeah. It's also therapeutic to write letters. You know, I don't know how you guys chart your own progress and stuff, but sometimes once a year I'll write a letter to myself and I'll write out all the goals that I have for my year and whatever plans I have to accomplish said goal. I'll open it a year later and then I'll revisit what my goals were and then I'll realize, oh, I actually didn't want that. Or I did this thing instead and that felt a lot better. And it feels nice because then I feel like, oh, I am growing in different ways. Then I'm also the things that I want are always changing.
Interesting. That's smart.
It's fun.
I'm
it's
really
good.
bad at doing those kind of things.
It's hard because sometimes, and you shouldn't care what other people say too, but sometimes it feels like I'm going to tell somebody that I wrote a letter to myself. I'm going to tell somebody that I'm charting my growth.
Right.
But it's for you. It's supposed to happen for you.
I even if I do that kind of stuff when I'm by myself, I'm like, what am I doing right now? What am I, an iCarly? I'm making a promise to me.
My friend's going to pick me up in 5 minutes. He's going to be like, where are you? I'm like, I'm writing a letter.
I'm writing a letter to me.
Yeah, to me. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are like some things that I want to work on. Because I told you, like, sometimes I wonder, like, what else do I have to offer besides stand up? And I don't know. I want to think of that. I want to work on that.
Yeah.
But is there anything? The question now to you: is there anything outside of stand up, outside of comedy?
There's some like minor, pursuits that I'm working on. I'm trying to get into voice acting finally. This has been a thing that I've wanted to do since I was like 12. And it was a thing that I always put next to comedy when I started, like comedian and aspiring voiceover artist.
Yeah.
And I practice, but I've never made a demo or like made personal recordings, and it's something I'm trying to pursue this year. There's some stuff that I might be a part of that I can't shout out yet because they're not done.
Yeah.
But it would give me that experience and a little bit of portfolio. I have like one credit, which was just like another DIY. I had a friend who was in film school, and so she started working on a web series to kind of showcase for school.
Yeah.
And I was the voiceover for that, and it was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It was complicated. It was kind of hard to watch her. She's doing well. Shout out to her. She's a hard worker. She had a really great idea. But with all the people that she managed to get involved, she was still producing, directing, filming, and writing.
It's a lot of to
all by
handle,
herself. Yeah. And it was a very like elaborate project for her. It was a fun show. So
Can I get you more water?
Oh, sure. Thank you. No, thank you. What's it called? This would be fine if it's still in the video.
No, yeah, we're still around.
Oh, cool, great. You stay hydrated. Yep, you gotta do it. This is my 4th glass of water. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really exciting. I think, especially, I feel like as you get older too, you kind of like realize the contacts that you have, the connections, the resources, and everything. And then I feel like sometimes you have to really sit down and be like, what can I do? Like realistically, what am I able to do to make it the best version of what I want?
Yeah, and then there's some like minor stuff that I mentioned before that I paint and I draw. I'm working on this series right now that I haven't really shown anyone. I started it as a dumb like fan thing that I try to do on TikTok, where I drew Batman characters as Loteria cards.
Oh, that's fun.
And I have the first like 3 or 4 up on my Instagram right now. But I took a break from it because it was exhausting trying to like, I was always forgetting to do it. And then I was doing it in a weird system where I'd randomly pick a card. And so now I'm getting back into it, but I'm starting from scratch. I actually have these cutout cards that I made myself that I'm drawing one by one. And I'm just going like in order, like from 1 to 54.
Wow. That's a lot.
So I haven't shown anyone it yet because I'm still on card 2. And part of the concept is like trying to pick the card itself, the Loteria card, and then see what Batman item you can replace with it.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of random ridiculous cards. Like
I'm sure it also has a lot of gadgets and gizmos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what I'm gonna do with the tree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like silly cards. Like there's the shrimp. There's the bucket, the boot. I'll probably just redo those, but it's Batman's boot. But some of them are fun.
Sorry.
I heard like a pitter patter, like almost like rain, and I looked at Josh, and then he's like, "It's the fridge." Sorry. Fridge wants to say something.
Tara's catching up on me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an exciting project, and I feel like although it might take a bit, it's also like kind of a testament to how devoted you are and how much detail you want to put into it.
Yeah.
And then the work will speak for itself when it's done. But that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into my art. There was a minute there where I took art classes in high school, and then I was going to school in an art program, but I wasn't going to art school. And it was a thing where what I wanted to do was get into animation.
Yeah. And
for some reason, I let myself be convinced by people to take a graphic design course instead.
What do you feel like? Sorry, I just want to cut into. You feel like people were convincing you to take a graphic design class?
There was just like some cross wiring. I needed to pick a subject for my senior project.
Yeah.
And even though I like animation, it was just easier to write an essay about graphic design.
Okay.
As a concept, because graphic design is kind of vague, to be honest. Anything that requires any kind of thought is technically graphic design.
It's true. Write that down.
Yeah, it's what I do for a living.
It's-
And they and they like.
You just
I kind of did the same thing, like, because I liked animation, and that's why I like got into that kind of stuff. But then they're like, "What are you going to be an animator? You got to get a job." So it's like,
Yeah, and
it's
that's
like
what
the
happened with
more
me.
like corporate, creative job.
So I was
Yeah.
convinced to go to Pasadena City College, which has
It's
a
a great
great art
college.
program. At the time, they had just finished vitalizing their arts. They built a whole art center. So they have like a huge art program, but it's specific to graphic design. So I went to the wrong school, and I went to that school for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to take too long to do what I want to do. And there's other things that I want to do that don't need this. So to the dismay of my parents, I stopped going.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, sometimes like when you're at college, it can feel like. And sometimes I feel like this with comedy. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, am I going in the right direction? Am I feeding the right part of me?
Yeah.
You know, I took a lot of child development classes, a lot of education classes when I was in college. I need 2 more classes to finish, and this year I've had like the debate of going back and stuff like that, which I think I will. I only need, like I said, I need 2, and I feel like it would make me feel good about it.
Yeah, I almost got into. I tried to look into child development classes in college, but it turned out that you had to take it in high school to get certain courses.
Gotcha. You know, to you talking about, going to school and everything, I feel like right now, especially, I'm really excited by learning. And I've been looking up a lot of different like nonprofits that offer like one-off workshops and courses. And I've been taking some of those because some of them are just fun. It's just, I like learning for the sake of learning,
Yeah.
because it's so, it feels a lot like self-enrichment. And I feel like that's always cool to have someone to talk about. But I took this class. I'm not trying to date the episode, but like recently there was a holiday that's meant for like a special person, right? And so I took this class, and it was to learn how to make a cassette for somebody. So I learned how to make a cassette for my girlfriend, so like a mixtape. They had like these tape recorders, and you can bring in your own computer or use your phone. And they show you how to like record stuff off of your device and put it onto a cassette tape. And I really liked that. And the whole workshop was so much fun. And it just made me think like, what else could I learn? Or it made me think like, if I could teach a workshop, what would it be? And I feel like it was fruitful, but it also kind of made me question a lot of stuff in the sense of like, what skill do I have that I can share with another person? And I've been really trying to pick at that. Like, if I could be given the chance to lead a workshop, what would it be on? And that's been frustrating me, but in a really good way. Do you feel like you have like a skill where you're like, I can teach someone
I have
that?
a bunch of random skills, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of it is my ADHD. Like, I have ADHD and autism, so special interests are kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a thing where, like, I could be interested in anything, but it has to keep my interest for a certain amount of time. Otherwise, I just drop it. So the stuff that I know how to, like, I know like 2 or 3 sleight of hand tricks. I used to learn. I used to be into magic. I have a bunch of impressions because I was into animation for so long. The most recent thing I would say is probably the balloons. I don't know if you've seen the
I've
balloons.
seen, yeah, you've made me a few. I still have them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Everyone says that.
But I mean it.
But yeah, that one was at a time where I was like, I was just trying to, find gigs.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't like the sound of making balloons. Like, it irritates me. But
The squeakiness
yeah.
of it? Yeah.
But the thing was, like, I was immediately good at it, so I just kept learning.
What if the squeaks are just like the balloon is the balloon's pain? It's like like you're contorting it, and it's like, no, don't.
Well, it's the funniest thing. The earliest balloons were actually animal parts.
Like intestines and stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And also, it's like what people did years ago. It's like so crazy and so brutal, but like it was so normal,
Yeah.
Or like, oh yeah, people used to punish people by throwing rocks at them till they died. And you're like, oh, all right, well, that's part of our history.
So many things are made out of sheep's stomach. It's weird.
Intestines and stuff.
Like,
yeah.
old violin chords are sheep and cat intestines.
I think, yeah. It's a lot to consider because I'm looking at guitars right now, and clearly these don't have the same thing unless you want to correct me.
No, they're metal string.
But how far we've come.
Right.
That we were like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I could have just been using metal strings instead of The intestines of a horse.
The neighbor's cat.
The neighbor's cat. Yeah.
But we use the intestines of a tree.
That's true. You know this already, but I like go on historical home tours, and I went into a historical home, and they showed you like all the instruments, like a violin, a piano, and stuff. And this is before like records and stuff. And they're like, if a family wanted to enjoy music, they would teach their children how to play all these instruments, and then they'd have live music in their household. And I was like, wow, you had to like give birth to your own band.
So funny. I'm imagining like a Bill Nye show, but it's based in the 1800s.
It's just like wrong science.
Here's how you can do it at home. Find a cat.
Yeah. If you want green wallpaper, you're gonna have to use a bunch of absinthe, and you might die. But
dude, crazy! Like I didn't know. This is a fact that always like is in the back of my head. Just like it's crazy that nobody thought that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
They used to make glow in the dials on watches were hand painted to glow in the dark, and they used uranium.
Yeah.
Or like your radiated like material.
Uranium and like green things.
There's some vintage glass that is collectible, but you can see them like with the LED, like it glows green.
Yeah. It's actually funny. The Chatterbox sign has green neon, and like that's not a thing anymore. Like that's poisonous.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's like so rare. People like hold on to it when they have it. You know what I mean?
I was about to say it could be very valuable.
Yeah,
actually,
I think it is. Yeah. I just want to go back a second because you were talking about that nonprofit thing about you going to nonprofit workshops.
Yeah.
Is there any like where can someone find those? Because I feel like that's good information.
Yeah. So for the one in particular I went to, it's called Heavy Manners Library. It's in Echo Park. It used to be the Echo Park Film Center, or at least it neighbors what used to be, and that's a place that I used to go to when I was a kid and learn Super 8 and 16 millimeter stuff.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I think places like that are very valuable. There's another place that I go to for therapy. It's sliding scale therapy in Highland Park. It's called Scribble. And they also host a variety of like workshops and classes. One that I'm going to go to is like a coffee making workshop.
Oh,
and they like teach you like the different ways to make different kinds of coffee.
Like lattes and stuff?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a barista course, but I think for someone like me that drinks coffee a lot, I would at least like to know something.
Yeah.
Or have a valuable skill to share. Right.
I drink so much coffee and I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm just like, that kind of coffee is going to be $6. That coffee is going to be $5. Yeah. But it makes me think about the world that I live in, and it makes me feel more like I have to make choices that I'm mindful of, and I feel like that would help me.
That's really cool. Because I love learning too. Like when you're saying that you've taken an interest in, or like you like to learn, that's big for me. But I'm like a YouTube student. You know what I mean? I'll just watch videos on YouTube of random stuff.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like now, unfortunately, because of tech and stuff, I get so distracted. I'll leave halfway through the video and like, oh, now I want to learn about this.
That'll happen to me too.
Yeah.
But I do consume a lot of just like information. But going to a workshop and getting like hands-on with something sounds awesome. Sounds so fun.
Especially when it's affordable, because like all those classes are sliding scale. So like maybe the class is $25, but it's like, or pay what you can.
Oh, that's so cool.
Even if there are moments where I don't have money and someone's leading a workshop, I'll try to like throw in $10 or maybe $5, because I believe that this is a valuable thing, and I think more people should learn it.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, if you want to go to a class together, let me know.
Yeah, we'll go learn about coffee.
Or if you want to go to a class together, like on how to eat a hot dog in under 4 minutes.
Oh yeah,
that was so funny. That just reminded me of a dumb bit. You were explaining the cassette course you took.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, it'd be funny if it was just like some dude who had a bunch of mixtapes from the 90s, and he was just showing you how to like request a song and then put the mic to the radio.
That's funny. I did that once. I've done that actually twice, where I've called in a radio station when I was a teenager and I asked them to play a song for me. The two songs, because you're a Beatles fan, one was A Day in the Life,
nice.
Which is like sicko mode from like the 60s.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it has crazy beat switches, you know?
That's so funny.
And then the other song was Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones.
Love that song.
Yeah, it was to 95.5 KLOS.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now that song reminds me of Scott Pilgrim. because they played it at the end of that song. Or the end of the movie.
Under
They
My
play
Thumb?
it
Yeah.
They have a good cover of
in the scene where she goes back to Gideon.
Yeah. I thought that was isn't that not at the end?
It's, the penultimate,
Right.
the climax.
Yeah. It's fun to request a song because you're like, they're not going to play it. But then they play it, like, oh
You're
my
like,
God,
oh
what?
I made a difference.
They listened to me?
Yeah.
I affected programming?
I have power.
Whoa.
Yeah, I remember sitting outside of my friend's house and like calling Power 106 to try and to try and get a song on there.
Like, can I hear a Tyga song for like the 6th time today?
So funny.
Yeah, I know. It's like we off camera we talked about analog and stuff, but things that are analog that you have to like manipulate and that have flaws, I think are a lot more special because you took the time to make it, and those flaws and imperfections make it that much more special. I feel like now people are so obsessed with something being perfect. It has to be perfect. It has to look like this. I have to get every word right. But I feel like the imperfections make it more relatable. It makes it feel like, someone like myself can do that, and it makes me want to do that.
Yeah, wabi sabi. I think isn't that the?
I've heard that word. I don't know what it is.
I think it's like beauty and imperfection, and like it's like embracing it's like a pottery thing. I think, and like they make a slight mistake, and that like makes it unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's also like, I guess the different version of this is like that. I always think of like that childhood thing where someone's like, anything you can do, I can do better. I feel like anything someone does, I just want to try my version of it.
Right. No. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And in a fun, supportive way that's not competitive, because I don't like when people are like, oh, this is the, Yeah.
I like a balance. I like a little. I'm like to be a boy, so I'm like,
Yeah.
we can compete a little bit. You know
All
what
right.
I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't like
Dre.
when it gets like, I guess toxic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're like just trying to beat people because you're like, I'm the best. Like I don't like that. That's not fun.
Yeah, and the Comedy Scope. I release one special every year for 10 years. It's like, but how many of those are good?
Yeah.
How many of those are memorable?
Well, you do them all the time. They're really special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You do one every year. It's not really special. That's so funny.
I think, yeah.
I mean, I feel like stuff like that is what like oversaturated comedy for a while. Like you could see it on even in mainstream media like Comedy Central, where they stopped doing hours, they started doing half hours, and then they did whole shows of just half hours. And
Netflix used to do 15-minute like quarter specials.
Yeah, for a second.
For like I think 1 year, and that was cool too because it's like, all right, give me like a nice sampling of maybe 4 comics. They're all doing 15 minutes. Yeah,
that's cool. That's fun. I wish there was more of that for like less popular comedians.
I think so too, because now it's like you have to look at someone's following count and stuff like that. And I don't have a large following. I feel proud of the things I've done and accomplished, but I feel like the hard part is that people do look at that, and there have been opportunities that I have not received because of my following count, which sucks.
They're like, oh, you're not going to bring people or something like that. And
it's it's like, but I'll do good, because some people that do have large followings are not good at the thing that they do. Right. It's just they have a lot of eyes on them.
That's that little competition where I'm like, man, I'm better than that person, bro. Yeah. Like, why you put me on?
Exactly. Yeah. I guess that's the glint of competitiveness that I have. Yeah.
Well, and that's also like knowing your value, or like knowing who you are, being confident in your product
and your abilities too. Yeah.
No,
like eating a hot dog in your car.
Yeah, very quickly.
Keep bringing up hot dogs.
I'm gonna get one today.
That's the runner. I went to Wiener Schnitzel yesterday.
Nice.
It was closed.
Oh no!
I love, dude. That's like a guilt food that I have is Wiener Schnitzel. When I was a kid, I could eat like maybe like 5 or 6 chili dogs in like a sitting.
Seriously,
loved it, man.
Yeah.
Now I'll die.
I probably will eventually. But I can still do it. I still got it in me.
Let's expedite this. Let me just die faster.
Yeah. I love their chili dogs. I like getting the all beef chili dog and then keeping the classic cheese slice.
Yeah.
Instead of shredded cheese. So good.
They charge you more for the cheese. It's great. It's almost $1 more.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just gonna bring it to my house, put my cheese on it.
That's so funny. Yeah. I'll get one with no cheese, please.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I did notice they did start selling the chili in cans.
Yeah, you can
They
buy
do,
You
yeah.
can make your own like wiener schnitzel at home.
That's funny.
But I mean,
we have
like-
weird schnitzel at home. Just get a different kind of chili also.
Yeah.
You can't eat wiener schnitzel after eating like Johnny Rockets or something because there is a distinct difference in their chili versus every other. It's so like when you're aware of it, it's so salty and greasy.
Yeah, and then there's different kinds of chili too. Like there's sweeter chilies, and there's like more bean heavy. You know what I mean? Like I like all meat chili.
They're
for my
almost
chili
like
dog.
dips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically.
Yeah. I get the Trader Joe's chili sometimes if I want to make my own wiener schnitzel at home. Yeah. And it's pretty good. Yeah.
I don't remember what we were talking about before.
We went from talking about
We were talking
art
yeah,
to
yeah. The art
chili.
of eating. Yeah. It was still creative. We're talking about doing it at home, DIY.
Yeah,
hot dog,
DIY. Yeah.
DIY chili dogs.
Do you have any like DIY foods you like to make? Like a
No,
special dumb recipe?
I cook like a boy. Like I'll just I'll mix
funny.
everything together in one pan and just like stir fry kind of
Yeah.
like rice and meat and just.
For a minute, I was actually working on a cooking show for boys. Like that was the whole gimmick. Was
I think I remember that.
it was the gimmick was supposed to be that I'm like teaching them because I hate how the guys eat.
Yeah.
Like 20-year-old guys eat because they don't know how to cook for themselves. So
Yeah.
So the whole gimmick was like take what they already buy and turn it into real food, like turning ramen into a ramen bowl, or like turning, I thought of some interesting, like my dad once accidentally bought like a whole case of Cheetos mac and cheese,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which is gross. It's nasty. The cheese is like just the powder from the Cheeto chips.
like the dust.
It's very thick and it's very artificial tasting.
That's so funny. Probably.
So I did this whole recipe where I turned it into like a barbecue bolognese. Like
Oh wow, that sounds good.
it
I'd
was,
eat that.
it kind of tasted like when cowboy spaghetti. Have you heard of that? It's like hot dogs and barbecue sauce.
And spaghetti noodles. Also?
It's like spaghetti, but they put hot dogs in it and they make the sauce sweet. And
it's
they
like
put barbecue.
like Jollibee spaghetti.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had the dessert from Jollibee, but never liked the food.
Their chicken is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a savage though, dude. I grew up on like 7-Eleven food, so I'll eat like straight junk. Like
Yeah, I ate a lot of junk too when I was a kid. I used to believe the like if it had like made with real fruit type thing, I'd be like, oh, this is healthy for me.
that's what
I'm an idiot, dude. I think the GMOs have like mutated my body in some way.
I'm pro GMO.
Yeah, you're pro GMO. Yeah,
I'm pro
yeah.
GMO.
Okay,
Yeah, we wouldn't have bananas without it, right?
it's true. Bananas shouldn't be like that. They
Yeah,
look
yeah.
different,
They're
right?
Tiny.
They have seeds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inedible basically.
Wow. But we did it. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
dude, we saved them.
I put them in cereal sometimes.
Yeah. And now they're not that bad for you if you don't eat that many.
And a peanut butter sandwich. Pretty
Say
cool.
what you want about organic food, but you can't organically grow cotton candy grapes.
I mean, that's the thing I hate about that term is that, yeah, you can. All food is organic because organic just means carbon containing. All food is organic.
I guess.
All living things are organic.
That's true.
Well, I think it's like the idea is the difference between
Stupid marketing term.
enhanced and not enhanced. Like, if they did something to it to make it different, you know what I mean? Like some tomato, I think I heard a thing where like tomatoes were injected with fish DNA so that they could last longer in the fridge instead of leaving them out in the open.
Man, who has these ideas? It's
Yeah, I don't
nuts.
know. I leave my tomatoes out. Putting your tomatoes in the fridge is crazy.
Or a scientist left his fish next to his tomato. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I got it.
We figured it out.
He accidentally
He was
spilled
eating tomato,
the fish
and he
jar
bumped into somebody
the
eating
Chemical
fish.
X.
Yeah. That's so funny. Like that's how bouncy balls were made. Like somebody was cooking food and they like left it sitting for too long, and it just got rock solid.
Crazy.
And it became bouncy balls.
That's actually
That's
such a fun
hilarious.
discovery.
Yeah, they were gonna eat that.
Damn. Now, I invented a choking hazard. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's weird how many like 80s and 90s kids toys were made like from accidents involving sap and rubber.
Yeah, like so many things. It's also funny to think that some person was like, I accidentally came up with this. It's a bouncy ball. And some other person was like, I accidentally came up with this. It's penicillin. And then bouncy ball guy's like, looks like an idiot.
It's so funny. I was like, fuck, I could have made penicillin. Yeah. If I just added pepper.
that was the only difference.
It's all like recipes, yeah.
That's so funny.
Well,
this is fun. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is a fun conversation. It felt purposeful.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I host a show in Atwater at this bar called Nico's every fourth Monday of the month. So be there. We're going to have a fun lineup. Maybe that can be a regular monthly thing that you do. Then follow me online at Vince Caldera, and I'll share more stuff.
And from us, I don't have a closing out. You know, I'm trying to think of one because there is a purpose to this show. But until then, goodbye.